Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm hoping you're having a great day, not just a good day. So in today's case, we're going to be talking about a very popular case that actually caused the world to be angry, because at the time that the information came out, there was a lot of information, there was a lot of comments about why a human being would fight to get custody of her child and still mistreat her child. So let's dive straight into the popular case of the girl in the closet, Lauren Kavanaugh. Her name wasn't originally Lauren Kavanaugh, it was actually Lauren Calhoun because she was born to Barbara Calhoun on the 12th of April in 1993. Barbara Calhoun was 21 years old and she was also unemployed. And she actually also had suffered abuse when she was younger because her parents maltreated her and allowed their friends to sexually assault her. So she kind of had a very hard time growing up. And let's also not forget that Barbara's mom was also schizophrenic. So all up until the point of 4 years old, she was adopted by the Calhouns. So that's how she got her name, Barbara Calhoun. Barbara eventually got pregnant and she did not know who the father of this particular child was. But 4 months into her pregnancy, she met friends Bill and Sabrina Kavanaugh, who supported her and told her not to abort the child and that they were going to help her to take care of the child. They also said that they were going to adopt her and make life easier for Barbara, and she did not have to worry about where she was going to keep the child or money or anything, and that they were going to take full responsibility for everything. They were with Barbara all up until the point that she even gave birth in the hospital bed, and they supported her every step of the way and even drove her to all of her appointments. So Barbara gave birth to Lauren in the East Texas Medical Center, and immediately she gave birth to this child, she wanted nothing to do with the child. Like, it's usually that when a mom gives birth to the child, and even if she had already decided beforehand that she didn't want it, probably on the bed, she might feel a bond, but apparently there was no bond and she just hated the sight of the child. So the next day, immediately after giving birth and she was free of everything, she signed the adoption papers, handing over Barbara to the Kavanaughs. After a few months, Lauren got discharged and she was living with the Kavanaughs now. So 8 months into living there, they get a call from Barbara's lawyer saying that Barbara wanted to file a petition to get her child back. The Kavanaughs were unsure why this was, because they were very sure that she wanted nothing to do with the child. So they were kind of very suspicious as to why all of a sudden, 7 months down the line, you want your child back. So they fought this back and forth in court, and it was just going on for quite a while. During this time, Barbara got married to Kenneth Kingston, and she was still fighting the battle of getting her child back or not getting her child back. The Kavanaughs had exclusive rights to Lauren for 9 months, but thereafter they allowed her to have like a personal relationship with her mother, because they were actually still fighting this whole child custody in court, and they didn't want it to hurt her in any way. Lauren will visit the Kavanaughs sometimes and started noticing some bruises on her hands and on her bum area. Sabrina started taking like documents of this. That's Sabrina Kavanaugh, the adopted mother, started taking a lot of notes on what she was seeing, and the one that made her really shocked was the one on her bum, because she would ask Barbara, and Barbara would say that when she's learning how to walk, she would fall down on the ground and whatever, but it just was very suspicious because those red marks and the rashes were not adding up. So Sabrina took this to court to argue that Barbara was an unfit parent and she was not going to be able to raise this child. But the court ruled it as insufficient evidence and gave the child to Barbara again. So when the court ruled this as no evidence, Sabrina was still trying to fight, and she took the baby to the doctors, and the doctors were not going to do any testing on the baby because of what the court order said, because there was not enough evidence. So why should they, they didn't want to disobey the court, even though it wasn't really disobeying, because like, why not just check? I really don't understand. Like, it's not going to hurt to check. Do you get, like, so I don't know why they would deny her of checking. Well, maybe she should have checked before going to court. I don't know, but now it's too late, right? Barbara worked for a short time in paralegal, so she kind of knew the documents that were needed for her to now have custody of Lauren. And she knew that she didn't sign a particular document. And that particular document was the only document that was really needed for the Kavanaughs to win. They went to court, and the Kavanaugh's lawyers realized that he forgot to make Barbara sign the parental rights paper. And this was what made them lose custody of Lauren for the long run. And that's how Lauren ended up back into the hands of her original mother. The Kavanaugh still tried to be in Lauren's life after this and telling her parents, her original mom, this is Barbara, that she could babysit on weekends. Anytime she needs help, she should just contact them and whatever. But Barbara just stopped picking their calls after a while. And the last time that they saw Lauren was when she was 20 months old. Barbara just completely ghosted them. Sabrina was shocked because she actually expected that Barbara would need her help, especially like financially, since she was not working, she was unemployed, and she was not really living that great. And she also gave Barbara a list of phone numbers that she could call in case she needs anything or she needs help, and Barbara never ever reached out. The next 6 years was a horror show for Lauren and the rest of her two siblings, because Barbara just kept marrying and divorcing men before she eventually got back together again with Kenneth Atkinson. And after she got back with Kenneth Atkinson, she had three more children. So now making her have a total of six children. And now it's just so crazy because now they're like six. Okay, and she has no income coming in. Kenneth is a scumbag and obviously probably is not working. And I don't even know how they were even getting money to live up until the point that they were, but they eventually couldn't afford the home that they were living in anymore. So they were just moving from women's shelters to vehicles and various homes until they found a mobile vehicle in Texas. And the first 6 months of when they moved to Texas, Lauren was allowed to play with the other children and interact with others. You could even see a picture of Kenneth playing with Lauren. She was having a great time. And eventually, Lauren's life just went even more downhill from here because her own mother started starving her. Doris Calhoun, which is Barbara's mother, would eventually have the kids over sometimes, and she started asking Barbara why Lauren was always eating without control, like that she could not even get Lauren out of the pantry, because anytime Lauren comes over, Lauren eats like a pig and eats like she has never seen food in her life. And what Barbara said was that she had an eating disorder and that she eats food a lot, blah, blah, blah. So Doris was like, okay, understandable, and try to limit the food that Lauren was taking. And it's just so amusing to me because you're not feeding this girl at home, you're starving her. And okay, they're fine. Let's say you're trying to punish her or you hate her or whatever. Now she's gone somewhere else where she's not eating your food, and you still tell the person to basically starve her and to not give her food. Like, do you want her to die? Like, what do you want? You don't want to kill her, you just want her to keep suffering. Like, what exactly is the problem? Like, why do you have so much hate for this particular child? After Thanksgiving in 1999, Barbara's family started asking for where Lauren was, because during family gatherings, they wouldn't see Lauren, pictures, they wouldn't see Lauren. So they started becoming curious, like, where is Lauren? And they would say that Lauren was with a friend and she was staying over at her friend's place. And then, the family is quite wealthy and they're taking care of Lauren very well, just to keep at least one person out of the house because she didn't really have enough money. And it was kind of making sense, but unknowing to everyone, Barbara was locked in a basement closet and was basically starving to death. But at this point in time, she wasn't leaving Lauren inside the closet for long periods of time. She can just leave Lauren in there for like 10 hours a day, 16 hours a day. Then she comes out for the rest of the day. In 1995, they started locking Lauren in the bathroom if she ever misbehaved. It was not now like she was getting 10 hours of free time like before, or sometimes 9 hours of free time. Now, anytime she had a free time, they were either abusing Lauren or beating her up. One of Barbara's siblings even said that sometimes when they were living together, she would hear Lauren screaming, and Barbara and Kenneth would try to drown it out with radio. They would just turn the radio up really high 24/7 so that her screaming would not be heard. And anytime they weren't abusing her themselves, they would rent her out to men to abuse her. Anytime Barbara was having Lauren's bath for her, she would make sure that she drowns Lauren inside water up until the point that Lauren is almost dead before she yanks her head out of the water. She wasn't feeding Lauren to the extent that her siblings had to be sneaking food to her. Even the times that she will feed Lauren, she will tell Lauren to chew the food and not swallow it. So when she chews it, she has to spit it out. That is like another level of wickedness at this point. If you're not giving the girl food, don't give the girl food. You tell someone that is hungry to chew the food and you tell them to spit it out. How wicked! If that is not wickedness, I really don't know what is. Child protection services would do welfare checks once in a while, and anytime they came over, they would put Lauren in the dining room of the apartment or the mobile truck that they had, and would literally just tell Lauren to be eating, but make sure she doesn't swallow the food. So Lauren would just have food in front of her, and the child protection services or police would just stand in front of the porch and just do some little look around. Like, I don't know why people don't do their jobs. Like, if you're not going to do your job thoroughly, don't even show up to work that day. That's just the best thing. Don't show up to work that day, because now they could have seen, because there's no way that girl would have looked normal. There's no way she would have been able to have a normal conversation with somebody. You're supposed to like actually speak to the children and try to form conversation with them in a way that they would trust you, but they didn't do their job. I mean, up until this point, I feel like they could have actually caught them, but they didn't because they weren't doing their job well. Someone called the police and reported anonymously that Barbara would feed her children mold out of the dustbin outside. And I'm guessing maybe a neighbor, I'm really not sure, or maybe one of her other kids. That's the only reasonable explanation. I'm thinking another one of the kids gave this tip. And by the time the police came to the apartment to investigate or find out who Lauren is, do you know that Barbara and Kenneth faked an identity? I said that probably it was the wrong house because their names are not Barbara and Kenneth. Like, they gave another name to the police, so false identity, and the police just left. Like, even the names that they gave you, couldn't you even ask for ID? Couldn't you, like, I mean, I just get so angry when the police just act like they are like so freaking dumb. Because how, okay, fine, someone fakes an identity, bring your ID. No, you did not say that. You just went with it. Like, it just, I don't know. I'm even having headache just thinking about this, honestly. In 2001, Atkinson Kenneth decided to have a change of heart and basically turn himself in. I'm guessing you're wondering why he did this. What the police say is because, or they think actually, that it is because Kenneth started getting jealous because Barbara started going out, sleeping with other men, going to bars, meeting men online. So he got jealous and wanted to put her in jail, not knowing that didn't he know that he was also going to go down with her? I guess he didn't care because the jealousy overwhelmed him. And how he did this was that he didn't call the police. He basically just went to his neighbor called Ginny Peters and told her about the secret that he and Barbara have been keeping for years. He brought Ginny into the apartment and he went down and opened the closet and showed her Lauren. She was so shocked. She was so confused. She asked why Lauren was naked. She asked if she knew that she was loved. I mean, it was just a really crazy sight to see. Like, I'm sure she was like baffled, like, well, she obviously was. She even asked Kenneth if they even give her any amount of love, even if it's like just once a week. And he said that he does that just when Barbara lets him. The neighbor said that she looked like a little monster and her arms and everything was so frail, and her arm was nothing more than like an inch wide. When the police got the call from the neighbor, they came to look for who Lauren was. And by the time they got there, they actually saw Lauren sitting down, clothed on the dining table. And they didn't even know that it was her that they were looking for. They just noticed that, okay, maybe this girl is sick or something. And they were looking for the actual 8-year-old that they came to check for. And they found out that it was her. She was the 8-year-old. And the police said that she did not even look like an 8-year-old at all. She looked like a 3-year-old. They went to check where Lauren was imprisoned, and the place smelled horrendous. She was just basically living there with different types of insects, lice, and cockroaches, and whatnot. They checked some more and even saw human waste under the carpet of the cell that they kept her in. They immediately took her to the medical center in Dallas, and they found out that she had missing teeth, cigarette burns, punctured wounds, protruding ribs, a big belly, and she was denied food so much that her stomach lacked the enzymes required for digestion. She weighed only 25.6 pounds. Her esophagus was clogged with plastic carpet fibers and feces. She developed a rectovaginal fistula from repeated abuse. When she was asked how old she was, she said 2, because she had only celebrated 2 birthdays. So this girl actually thought she was 2 years old. Like, they basically made this girl's life a living hell. She had to get a lot of surgeries because of this, and the doctor said that this was the worst case that they had ever encountered from a child. Kenneth and Barbara were arrested the same day that they found Lauren. The other 5 children were taken to a foster care where they were going to probably be adopted. The news spread locally before it went global, and there were a lot and lot comments about what happened. The police were investigating and asking Kenneth and Barbara questions, and Kenneth said that things became worse with the abuse after 1999 because Barbara fell into depression. The news circulated so much that even the Kavanaughs saw it on the news, and they didn't even know about it for quite some time. They were just watching the news one day and they saw the baby that they adopted that got taken away from them. And ever since then, they tried their best to be in contact with Lauren and the authorities that were in control of the whole situation. Barbara claimed that she never loved or wanted Lauren, and that anytime Lauren was hurting, she never felt anything, unlike her other kids. So that was why she maltreated Lauren. I don't understand. Like, so if you felt that way about her, why didn't you just leave her with the Kavanaughs? Why did you make her life a living hell? Like, were you just looking for a way to put out your anger on a living thing? Like, it's just so crazy, to be honest. The trial began in January of 2002, and Barbara actually pleaded not guilty. Then, 2 weeks in, she changed her mind, probably her lawyers, because there's no way she was going to get out of this, and she's probably going to get less sentence. So she pleaded guilty. So her sentence hearing ended on the 29th of January in that same month, which is 2002, and she got maximum of life in prison with the possibility of parole. Kenneth's trial was in December of 2002, and he got the exact same sentence. He was given maximum life in prison with the possibility of parole. Sabrina and Bill Kavanaugh, however, were still trying their best to get in contact with Lauren, and they also made the police and authorities know that they were actually the adoptive parents of Lauren, but because of technicality, they couldn't like be her adopted parents, and they explained everything, and the police and the medical team were also like kind of hesitant to give her out, but when they saw the proof, the last court hearings, the history of everything, they reintroduced them to Lauren eventually, and Lauren couldn't actually remember them, which is quite normal, like expected, and she just asked if they were going to be her new parents. There were a lot of things that Lauren didn't know. She didn't know how to use a potty. She didn't know how to use a spoon. There was even a time when she cried. She went out and she put her feet on grass and she said that it felt like bugs. You know, she had never been outside before, especially without shoes on. So she just didn't know how to behave or even speak properly like other kids would. She only knew how to speak because of the music that Barbara and Kenneth would play in the past when she was locked in, and she didn't even know the context. You know, she just knew some very, very big words that were from the music that she used to hear. She was kept in the hospital for 5 weeks before she was officially released to the Kavanaughs as their daughter in July of 2002. So ever since then, she has been living her life normally, but life hasn't really been good to her because she had been suffering mental illness, and she also got assaulted again by her cousin's husband, and she has been going to psychotherapy to manage her fits of rage, crying episodes, and night terrors. Lauren was diagnosed with cerebral dysrhythmia, which also made her to have problems in learning and also to make friends. But in 2013, she graduated from high school and enrolled in Trinity Community College to study psychology. She was doing well, stopped her drugs, and she was still living normally. But she was arrested in December for the assault of a 14-year-old girl. And at this time, Lauren was still 25 years old. Apparently, Lauren had made a Facebook page and group chat to support people that had gone through things like her. And she met this 14-year-old girl in this group chat and they became friends. And it eventually blossomed into a romantic relationship. They eventually stopped talking for a while. Then again in 2017, they rekindled their relationship and Lauren moved into that girl's house. The family of the 14-year-old girl was unaware of the fact that they had anything more than a normal friendship. An anonymous agency tipped the police to report Lauren, even though it was a consensual relationship, but it was not allowed under the laws of Texas. In 2019, she was indicted on assault, and in the same year, she was found incompetent to stand trial. The judge ordered for her to be sent to a mental health facility so competency could be restored because she faced up to 20 years in prison. She remained in custody for 3 years until October 2021 when all the charges were inexplicably dropped. Ever since then, Lauren has tried her best to change and become a better person, and her worst fear is that she doesn't want to be like her parents because she feels like she has tendencies to be like them or to treat her child if she ever decides to have one or ever has one, just like how they treated her. And that is the end of this case, guys. Thank you so much for listening in to the end, and I will see you in my next video.